Good morning all. It's the 31st of July and I am now 2 months into the journey vlog. And over that period of time, I've done about 30 odd videos, shorts and longer versions, which I'm really pleased about. I've got over 50 subscribers and nearly 2,000 views, which has gobsmacked me a little bit. But thank you for everybody who's actually watched some of the content and responded to it and given me some feedback. It's been really helpful. So just a quick update really for July, and it's been a bit of a weird old month. I knew it was going to be a little bit like this just because of the way that my work-life balance was going to change with the school holidays and the time I'd be spending sort of during the days with my son and looking after that and changing things around a little bit. But actually it's been a little bit frustrating and a little bit disappointing on a number of accounts, really, that in the past 2 weeks I've only had one live session, which was at the Hippodrome. I actually played about 20 odd sessions in June and only a total of 8 live sessions in July. And this last week was actually, it was just one of those things, you know, all of the types of issues that can happen that can impact you happened. So last Sunday, the dog slit open her paw, which meant that she had to go to the vet on Monday. On Tuesday, my fiancée, she broke her toe and then had to go to fracture clinic and hasn't been able to drive and stuff like that. And then yesterday, the young lad, the 3-year-old, he decided to put a currant up his nose at his summer camp, and he had nosebleeds, which meant I couldn't get out really to go and play poker last night. So it's just, you know, one of those things in terms of stuff that happens. But next week, got a few more sessions that are booked up. I've got 3 or 4 next week, so hopefully should be able to get back on the live poker trail. What it has allowed me to do though is to really focus on some of the strategy review stuff that I've been doing, and I mentioned this in the London versus USA vlog, where I was going to be looking at calibration and some spots and trying to absorb some of the feedback I've been getting from my UK coach Andreas Wagner and the guys from Hungry Horse as well on new material that they were releasing as part of their Sable 2.0. So I spent quite a bit of time building that back into a framework for the game that hopefully I'll be taking back out live next week. And I'm also been playing online. I've been playing online a lot more than I had in June, and I will actually give a little bit of a summary on the results that have come out of those different sessions activities over the course of July and how that looks now over the last 2 months or so. So we'll move on to that in a minute. One thing I was actually going to make a reflection on were 2 aspects that have come out of various coaching calls that I've had over the course of the last couple of weeks, and it relates to 2 phrases really. The first one is around money saved is money earned, and that really is looking at, again, this has happened to me a few times where I've found myself in spots that really I shouldn't be calling down towards the river on. Either I've been beaten by a better hand, even though I've got really good value, or where I've basically not believed that my opponent could have the hand that they ended up with. And that's all really down to taking my repeatable thought process through all of the streets to get me to a position where I should actually be making better decisions. And the other phrase is sort of linked, and this is related to there's no bad river card. There's only an opportunity for a better decision. And that again links into your repeatable thought process as you go through the different streets, and being able to flex when you get to the river and not just fall into the trap of going, that card just came out, my opponent to hit a better hand, I should have just I've just have to accept that. Well, that isn't always the case. And often you should be able to respond more flexibly to the river card that you're faced with. And it may have a significant influence on the hand that you have, particularly where you have a value hand, but also where you have a bluff. And you've got to really absorb that and make a better decision. So it gives you an opportunity for a better decision rather than just blindly following the strategy you're going to apply for that particular hand from the outset. And some of those things have actually really affected the results I've had. So let's go on to the results. Over July, my live results look like this. So it's pretty disappointing, to say the least. And over that period of time, I'm nearly about £2,000 down. I've had previous phases like this, but this is a bit more frustrating because of where I am around my coaching, my development, my experience, my skill set. And I did actually go back and do an assessment on some of the results and what actually sat behind this, and that linked to why I was also going to do this bit of a strategy approach refresh to make it more calibrated to the London poker environment that I'm playing in. And the actual sessions that I've had are just presented here, and I'm not going to hide behind these at all. This is actually what's been happening. And from the earliest part of the month, there were some quite reasonable losses there. Thought I was going to start to claw it back, but then things have just dribbled out until I actually get to the last session there, which is the one I played at the Hippodrome last week. And so very, very disappointing. So I've done some assessment of some of the key results that affected my bottom line in July, and a number of threads came up. So twice I actually flopped the nuts and wasn't able to optimize value, probably because I actually raised villain slightly large when I was way ahead, and didn't probably need to, and got them to fold when really I needed them to call. I also ran into two flopped flushes when I hit good top pairs, and I was out of position and basically called them down. But when villain was betting into me after I was the pre-flop aggressor, I should have actually just folded those rivers. Saved money is earned money. Another occasion, I was subject to a check raise when I had, in essence, the third nut flush. I had a lovely combo draw, and villain actually had the second nut flush, and we all went in and basically stacked me for about £400. And then there was another situation where I decided to 3-bet somebody with a pair of threes from the cutoff, and got myself into a right mess when a monotone board came down. And then another one where I ran a bluff line after somebody donked into me on a king high board. The flush came in, straight came in. I overbet on the river, thinking that they're just going to range fold, and the guy had actually called me from the big blind with ace king after I raised pre-flop, and he'd hit a king on the flop, and he was never going to let it go, even though he could have been well behind a whole bunch of my potential hands. And so, that's massively frustrating, and there's some things that I need to take out of that in terms of how I actually have to make better decisions on rivers. And when even it doesn't look like the range that a villain might have fits, I have to be thinking wide enough to allow myself to actually get out of situations that are going to be costly. And that's one of the key things I'm going to be focusing on as I move through August. And ultimately, since starting the vlog at the beginning of June, these are my consolidated results live. And online in July, I've made about $190 and had about $20 dollars of rate back over that period of time. So it makes a total of $210, which equates to around about £155, and playing mainly 25 NL, 50 NL. Generally been playing pretty well, I think, over that period of time. But interestingly, you can see some of these variations that have been occurring, and again, sort of swinginess even of these sorts of results. But it's still in a positive direction. I'm really pleased with the way my red line has been going. Generally, if I can keep that fairly horizontal, that's positive. And online, since the 1st of June, still positive, but in June itself I only played about 3,000 hands, which is not very many at all, and was pretty flat, slightly down. So that hasn't made a significant impact on those overall results. But I will keep going and probably play a little bit more again online over the next month or so, and build in my new strategy and use this as a testing ground. And overall, since September 2025, which was actually when I started the Hungry Horse base camp, which I use really as a baseline for my overall journey results, I am slightly up, nearly £400 up. Online has actually been better than live. I've been a little bit disappointed with the way that things have panned out in 2026, and have sort of talked through that on some of my previous vlogs. But again, I think I've been working at the strategy, working at the calibration, and I'm looking forward in particular to implementing that in the 3 months starting September this year, when I'm going to commit to doing the cash race at the Empire for 3 months as well. So that's going to be quite an intensive period, and I think that the combination of strategy review plus increased playing time and familiarity and regularity will be very, very positive. So yeah, I'm sort of okay with where I am. Could be doing better, but process over results still at the moment. So when I started this vlog back in June, I did say that I was going to be very open and warts and all around my journey and what I'm doing and the experiences that I have. And I think obviously I would have loved to have been able to have shown some more positive actual net results, but that isn't the case. And sometimes within a poker environment, poker career, this happens, and I think it's really around the way that you respond to that, by showing some resilience, being self-reflective, being self-critical, looking into some of the reasoning behind your results. And I think the review that I've been doing will really help in that regard, plus some of the new material that's coming out of the Hungry Horse Stable 2.0, and also the really good feedback and open feedback I'm getting from my peer groups and some of the viewers on this particular channel. So that's been really, really helpful for me, and I'm still very, very positive. It's a longer term journey and an interesting sort of transition period that I'm in at the moment, with August coming, and again, reduction in the overall amount of time I can be playing live. We'll be focusing more online and developing the strategy whilst enjoying the time that I'm going to get with the family, son, enjoying the summer and getting myself ready for quite an intensive autumn period of playing. And ultimately, I have got to make sure that I remember that money saved is money earned. Thank you, and catch up again soon.